What is up, guys? It is Midnight Rains here, and today I am going over the hero balancing patch. I've kind of had an idea of what's gotten changed and how it's really worked for some of the units. Some of them I still have yet to test out, but I will be sure to go over them. But here is the update details of exactly what entirely changed. So, to start off, if you haven't realized yet, Scarlette it's basically a myth now. She can pretty much, even teams with Tamira, she one-shots. She went from, with her first and second skill, they both now hit consecutively 2 times. One has a powerful blow like Diaz, but in addition to hitting twice, she has the chance to apply her bombs, of course, which is obviously pretty crazy. So the other thing is it burns targets additionally, which pretty much, means that they instantly die. You get hit twice, you take, that's 80% damage, if it's a great unit. So I'm assuming Scarlette will be nerfed. I kind of hope so in a way, but yeah, so Scarlette is a myth. Her, I can do a video on her with the formations that she hits. It's pretty crazy. So I'll definitely go over her. But yeah, if you have Scarlette, congratulations. Take advantage of it while you still can. And we will move on to the next unit, which is Hyacinth, I'm going to say. Or Hya is what we usually just say. She got changed. She instead of getting a decrease, or a defense increase, she gets a damage decrease. So that one's pretty cool. It's 25% for 4 turns, and you still get the whole heal yourself thing. You heal a lot more this time. Haven't really noticed anybody use it. There's a lot better units out there like Entel, even Sven has like a full heal, but I don't know, maybe in the future or for TOT hard mode, people will start taking advantage of those little things. Attacks row of enemies, stuns for 2 turns with a 100% chance now, which is definitely a lot better. And skill cooldown is increased, obviously, because you stun for a 100% chance now instead of 30. So that's understandable. The new Awaken is increase the damage decrease rate. Or no, that's the other move that she does. Her Awaken trait is changed where it's the skill cooldown of all skills will be decreased by 1 turn. So, seems alright. If you got the boomerang shield, stun is increased to 4 turns. Because then if you had the -1, it would be 2 turns, and that would be kind of, people could put speed on her and then just spam that with stun. So that's understandable. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see Hya in 6-star or lower TOT hard mode. Don't know. So now we have Taurus. They're trying to make him a little more useful. I've seen a couple people try to hit each other in arena having Taurus on their team, maybe trying it out. The attacks the enemies and targets were on column. Damage is increased by 10%, so it's up to 90% now. And an 80% chance of making the enemy bleed for 2 turns. Greatly increases defense 2 turns. So decreasing the enemy's defense greatly, so it's not just regularly for 3 turns. Increase the continuous damage effects by 1 turn. They even brought the skill cooldown to 3 turns. It's just not enough. It doesn't do what like Bella would do from Summoner's War, if anybody played that. decreasing the defense. There's so many units that we put penetration on so we don't have to waste a turn casting that. But do be mindful, if they buff this to make it even better, you're also buffing TOT hard mode. So that's, you got to be careful how that works when they buff certain units. You ask for buffs, kind of like with Scarlette. Now people in TOT hard mode for floor 44. Yeah, I didn't finish it in time, so I had to deal with double Scarlette and double Tart, and that was ridiculous with Candela spamming me on cooldowns. So, yeah, got to be careful when they buff units like that. You'd be like, oh my god, buff this unit, and then, you know, later you try to complete something in maybe Sky Fortress or, you know, TOT. You're like, oh my god, I can't beat it anymore. So that's kind of, you got a double-edged sword there. So, but honestly, Taurus, I still don't see much in him. Giant Sword, though, is getting a buff. Now, his damage will go down 100 on the slaughter attack, but it decreases the skill cooldown of your other skills by 1 turn. Period. You don't have to kill anything to actually get that bonus. So that's pretty cool. The skill modification of the spinning strike gets consecutive hits, and with a powerful blow to inflict 220% of the attack power. I've been looking at this. I thought of actually building a giant sword, probably for like Sky Fortress, and I know a lot of people build Wingfrid. She's really good single target DPS, has a lot of silence, but I thought of Giant Sword as kind of like a single target Irene, so it might be something I'll look into. The Awaken skill is pretty nice. Again, getting a little bit of a decrease in attack power, but then the skill cooldown goes down by 2 turns for the other skill, and it ignores the target's defense. So obviously, if you're ignoring the target's defense, you don't need that much attack. So a little balancing there, I can understand that. So Giant Sword might actually see some play. If anything, he'll probably see play in PvE content. Maybe Sky Fortress, maybe TOT hard mode. If you're having trouble with like an Entel that you can't get by, I think it's like 29, 31, those ones. You know, you'll probably, you might have something more to work with. Going into Kana, she got a little bit of a change, not too much. The attacking 3 random enemies consecutively is still going on, but the sleep is only for 1 turn, but it goes for a 100% chance, which is kind of nice. So, oh yeah, it also can attack up to 3 times randomly. So that's kind of cool, I guess. I like that. Certain units I would rather have like 100% than like 50, because we're trying to eliminate a lot of the coin flips, and you don't really want to rely on too much luck. Like sometimes you're like, oh man, I don't have as much gear, or I need to clear this, and it's hard, but, you know, maybe if with like a coin flip from like Strong BB, when I use him, you know, where he can attack that second time with 2 hits, stuff like that, sometimes it's okay to rely on that, but you don't want to rely on that every time. So, I can see a little, you know, they're working on a bunch of units where they're trying to change it. So I like that. That's pretty nice. The attack power damage with each attack is reduced. That's understandable, especially if the target is put to sleep. So if you put it to sleep, that means the next hit will be granted with a crit. So you can kind of see how that works. All right, so the infamous Jean and Boom got reworked. Honestly, I've actually not seen anybody try them out. Most people have fed their Jean and Booms, and most people that do have them upgraded, it's mainly because they've upgraded most of their other units in the game, and they're just like, might as well make them 40. So I don't know. He attacks a random enemy. Oh, this is Jean. So this is the woman. Sorry. So she attacks 4 consecutive times with a powerful blow, which sounds awesome, and removes beneficial effects from the target. The accuracy of the powerful blow is 50% lower. That's like with other powerful blows. It sounds really good. It's single target, but it sounds good. The other thing is the second skill, Smoke Shell, is decrease the accuracy by 70% for 2 turns with a 50% chance. Skill cooldown from 4 to 3 turns. It seems okay. I like the blind marksman. That one's kind of cool. It stinks that it's random, but in a way, I guess that would be kind of cool, because you could be... I mean, 4 hits on something in arena is guaranteed to kill it most of the time. Most of the time. So the smoke shell attack, when awakened, brings from 50% chance of the accuracy decrease up to 80%. And the damage is increased by 2 times if you get a critical hit. So you'd probably put like crit rate on your Jean, and then make her like really high attack power and such. Probably would want a lot of accuracy if she's doing the whole powerful blow. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if anybody rises from the ashes and uses Jean for once. And then same as Boom as we go into Mr. Boom. He now attacks a row of enemies for 30% of your max HP as damage, and blesses the allies in your row, including yourself, to absorb all attacks one time with a 100% chance. So I like the whole shield thing. You know, in a couple of my other videos, I'm like, okay, when's the whole, shield each other thing gonna work? So then it like protects you from one of the consecutive hits, because consecutive hits are pretty big in arena. So I was like, that seems kind of cool. Second skill is still increase the attack speed of all allies, and decreases the duration of all harmful effects by 2 turns. The attack speed thing, I'm not that big into, because obviously we have our units all spec'd out to what we want them to be. Raising the attack doesn't do too much if your units are over 800, but I do like the decreased duration of harmful effects. That one's pretty cool. Skill modification for the Boom Boom. It sounds funny. Attacks the enemy and the enemies in the target row and column to inflict 40% of your match HP as damage, and blesses the allies in the row and column. With a chance to recover the HP. So I think that works kind of like Tamira, where she shields, and then when they get hit, they heal based off that attack. I'm not sure. I haven't tested that one out yet, but it sounds like that's what they're saying. That seems pretty cool. So, Jean could be kind of like Wingfrid in a way, more so just for the single target, and Mr. Boom could probably be for maybe a semi-tank team if you don't have like all the proper units. Mr. Boom does have I think he's got like a 20% chance to reflect the attack damage that he takes on the unit who hit him, and that just works for himself. But I mean, could be something in the future where he's like really tanky, especially with his max HP, dealing damage equal to that amount. You might see him come up. Probably not in arena like high end, but he might pop up. He's more useful now, that's for sure. Especially the decreasing harmful effects, and then the absorbing the attack with the whole shield heal. All right, so we're gonna get into a unit that most people know I have a level 34 Pones, and so I've been really excited about Pones. He got changed kind of in a lot of ways. His wave now hits like almost 3 times less. He only hits for like 130% of the attack power's damage, but instead of the whole silence for 2 turns, he silences for 1 turn, but with 100% chance, which is beautiful. That's what I want. I want 100%, not 50. So I'm okay with the 1 turn, and it is nice. The other thing is that it ignores the target's defense when attacking, so it grants the same effect if there's another target nearby. So, and I can showcase that one. That one's pretty cool. It kind of like an actual wave. It continues, but it bounces off another target. So if your targets are in like X formation, it could hit the top point or the bottom point of the X, and it could bounce off targets, and it could hit up to 6 times. So that one's pretty cool. The other thing is if there's 2 targets and they're next to each other, like they're connected, and you hit the first one, it'll bounce back and forth between them and cause consecutive hits. So it causes your opponent that if they use like X formation or cross formation, it really damages you because you can't avoid it as much. So that one's pretty cool. The other thing is the tsunami got changed. So the damage is still the same. It attacks them, but instead of decreasing evasion, it decreases accuracy. So the one thing I like about this is a lot of teams dot and nuke pretty hard, and they kind of rely on that accuracy to make sure they can crit or make sure that they can apply their dots like confuse to kind of mess with you. So I like that, but the only problem is now you kind of have to switch it up a little against Pang teams, but I kind of see to counter that they made his ignore defense in his first skill, so that kind of helps out a lot with a bunch of the tanks. Going into Molly, I have yet to see one person even talk about using Molly. I heard like 2 people say like, "Oh, did you hear Molly got buffed?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then it kind of like that was the end of the conversation. So, Molly got buffed. She now hits for only she gets a 10% attack nerf, but she freezes the target for 3 turns with 100% chance, which is pretty cool. Freeze is not as good as poison though, or burn. I think burn is actually kind of better in a way. Attacks the same target again with a 50% chance. That's pretty cool. So it could probably still keep going off. Again, with the coin flips, you're not going to rely on them too much, but it is kind of nice to have those once in a while. Well, let's look at the Awaken for Tear Bomb attack. So, because that's the main thing you're going to want to use. You now hit for 100% less, but it decreases the evasion. So, kind of, Pones and Molly kind of swapped. So, if you want to debuff evasion, I guess you'd use Molly, but there's better ways of getting by evasion than be like, "Oh, I have to use Molly now." Like, don't. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like you could. Inflict some extra damage with a 50% chance when attacking. I don't know. Decreasing the evasion seems nice, but again, freeze is more based on defense. I'm not probably gonna use Molly. I think I got 1, maybe. Probably just because I haven't fed it yet. So, moving on. Molly still isn't worth it in my book. Jian. Okay, so I recommended way back that Jian got a buff for the 100% immunity, and it was approved, and it happened, and I was so glad, and I was like, woo! And then they buffed it again because it still wasn't enough to use her. Cheery was still the same go-to. Now with Cheery being kind of a because more people have like debuffers like Snowy, BQ, even the Hwami is very popular. So everybody's getting debuffed pretty hard. So Cheery is almost a waste as a first turn on having on your defense, that is being said. So a lot of people aren't really using her in Arena anymore. So for Arena defense, I started using Jian after this buff, and it works really well. So now, when she buffs, she grants immunity for 3 turns with a 100% chance instead of 2, which is very nice. And then, in addition to that, she buffs for the defense at the same time is also 3 turns. So you get a 3 and 3. You get a defense buff kind of like Fenzi, and then you also get immunity like Cheery at the same time. So it saves like an extra turn. So I like that. It was pretty nice. I used Jian this month in TOT hard mode. It helped me auto a bunch of floors. The other thing that got changed is she now hits consecutive, 2 times for 70% of your defense's damage with each attack and stuns them for 2 turns with a 100% chance. So that one's really nice. So even her first skill is pretty good. I think I have 6k defense on my GN. It's kind of bad because a lot of units ignore defense right now, or are geared to ignore defense just because everybody wants to nuke everything as fast as possible, which I agree with. You kind of want to do that. But it's kind of bad for GN because she's based on defense. So not saying that she needs changed. I love it, especially for PvE content, but just kind of be careful of that in Arena, put in her front line. Holy Drag got changed. I've rarely seen Holy Drag, but a couple people are using him. Stuns with 2 turns for up to 50% chance now. Grants immunity against inability effects. Is changed to 3 turns. Also 100% chance. So that's kind of like GN. So that's pretty dope. So Holy Drag gets 3-turn full immunity. I actually didn't know that one. So that one's pretty cool to see. So definitely Holy Drag is a lot better than it was. It also seems that stuns for 2 turns with 100% chance nuke. That one's pretty nice. I like that. We'll get to Dark Drag. I know Dark Drag got a buff that was pretty crazy. So, and the attack damage is buffed on Holy Drag up to 330%. Pretty nice. I can see why it got skill cooldown increase of 1 turn, but totally worth it. Pretty cool. Going into Electric Lulu. Seems that her Holy Punishment is now 2-turn 100% chance. So that's nice. I think that's kind of like Diaz, where he applies that dot, the Holy Punishment. So that one's pretty nice. Nice buff. Stuns the enemy. The 50% chance that allies attack down to 3 turns, but increases the skill power buff is now 100% chance. Ooh, I like that. I will try that out for sure. Probably in like Sky Fortress maybe. I'll try to nuke everything. I still got to work on an advanced team. So be mindful of that. I'll try to post a video eventually when I can finally beat it. So going into Valkyrie, it seems that attacks the enemies granted beneficial effects for consecutive times. That seems pretty cool. You attack anyone who has a buff 4 consecutive times. So that might actually be pretty good. Skill cooldown is only 2 turns. So Valkyrie, I would definitely be looking at Valkyrie right now, just reading that skill. So the other one is bless all allies with a block 1 attack and removes all harmful effects. If I remember right, Valkyrie is immune to inability effects like Confuse and Stun and Silence. If she is, I would definitely look at using Valkyrie more, especially against buff teams. Probably not on defense, more of an offense character that I would use, especially with all the buff meta going on right now. Uh, if you look in between Valkyrie and Dark Jag, you can kind of see a little buff going on for Titan. He got a skill cooldown of 5 to 4 turns of Titan's Rage. I think that one's the stun that he hits with. I'm not sure. It might be the stun, but so that happened. Not too big, not enough to really make an appearance. So nobody's really talked about Titan. Dark Drag has definitely been talked about. 2-turn Confuse is now 100% chance. 2-turn Confuse is Hydra. Dark Dragon is now the equivalent of Hydra. I mean, that's pretty much what it is. So I'm definitely pretty excited about that. I don't have a Dark Drag though, so yeah. But that is pretty cool. So I do have a Marianne though, and Marianne got her consecutive hit buff, which is pretty awesome. So her damage was pretty crappy, even with 320% of the attack power. I think mine even had like 6k at one point, and I had like 60 crit rate and a bunch of accuracy and everything, and she still just wasn't hitting too much damage. So they made it so she can do, depending on how many beneficial effects a unit has, she hits that target for that many times. Or with her other skill, where they have a debuff, for how many debuffs they have, that's how many times she hits them. So it's pretty cool how it works. And then in addition to that, say you hit them who have the buff, which causes the bleed, then you go into the other move and hit them. Well, if you hit the unit with both skills, it triggers a 2-turn stun. I think it's 100% chance. It might not be. It might be you just need accuracy to apply it. But it works exactly like a Rhodos. Pretty cool trait. I'm glad that it can finally be utilized more, especially with the consecutive hits. I've used it in a couple lockdowns, but I don't think I've really uploaded anything about it just yet. But definitely liking Marianne. So that was a cool buff to happen. Alright, so Nightmare got a buff. I have a Nightmare. Mine is still exploring. I haven't really heard too many people go off about it. Nightmare got the Reflect buff, but it's like the Unawakened has Reflect, but the Awakened doesn't. The weird thing about it was Grace is just better, is what it basically came down to. He got a better Reflect buff where it's basically what Grace is, but Grace can't be stunned or silenced or confused, etc. So that's kind of why Grace is better. But if Grace didn't have that, I mean, Nightmare would probably be not just as good, but Nightmare would be more useful in that aspect. So if you don't have a Grace, but you have a Nightmare, and you have like a really big tank team, you could probably use Nightmare just to kind of settle in there, you know. But, I mean, you could also use stuff like Raiden, etc. to boost your evasion. So there's always a bunch of other options for this game, which is pretty cool. So that's how I feel about Nightmare. Mine's still exploring. So we look into Jelos, and I'm pretty excited about this one. The Confuse is finally 100%. For 2 turns, so you know me and 2-turn Confuse, I like that. And it's 100% chance. So it's basically Hydra. But it only hits 3 units. And her first skill got it's like Shadow Rebellion? Yeah, okay. So attacks all enemies. To inflict 100 under... continues to, yeah, that got changed. So it's now attacks a row of enemies, and it increases the skill cooldown of all skills by 1. The cool thing is Targets under the inability effect are attacked additionally. I think, since that's our last unit, let me actually go into Jellos, because I think it's different than that. No, it's the same. It was like, because I've had it where, attacks additionally based on the number of targets that are under the inability effect. So, the more you hit, or the more targets you hit, etc., the more she'll hit. Because I've had it where she hits like 3 times, and I was like, holy cow. And, of course, that increases the skill cooldown by 1 for each time she hits. So that was, a -3 skill cooldown for my entire row, and I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. So I'll probably try Jellos out more. I did kind of throw some spare stuff, like preparing to make her, but yeah, we'll see how that goes in the future. So I just thought I'd shed some light on the update and what I felt about some of the units. Please nerf Scarlette. And I guess I will see you guys in the next video.